It's lovely to have you here. We're going to start with the news last week that Danny Masterson, most people will know from That 70s Show, hugely successful show. He was convicted in a court of law in LA for raping 2 women. There was 3 charges against him. But Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher have been dragged into this.
Yeah. So it's worth saying, first of all, it's one of the, I suppose, strongest convictions we've seen since the Me Too era. So it should be such amazing, positive news that finally we're starting to see, especially like top-tier celebrities, actually be jailed for the crimes that they've been committing. So it's a very strange situation, but obviously everybody will know Danny Masterson from That 70s Show, which is where Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher kind of had their rise to fame as well. So basically letters were published after the trial from Ashton and Mila, basically pleading to the judge. They're saying it was to ask for more lenient sentencing because I think a lot of people knew during the trial he was going to get probably the maximum sentence. It's worth noting he did not speak during the trial and his team didn't call any witnesses during the trial whatsoever. So he didn't even care to give a defence, to be honest. And so 50 people actually wrote to the judge with character references. And Ashton and Mila's were just very shocking because if any of you guys watching kind of follow them, they're both seen as big advocates. You know, Ashton in particular, they own a company together that kind of fights to stop trafficking. And they're really outspoken on really big issues. You might remember during COVID and everything and the Ukrainian war, like, you know, they've been very good. So this is just very disappointing. And Mila's in particular, I mean, she said that he was a big brother to her and that he was a role model. But she literally just starred in a movie recently called Luckiest Girl Alive where she plays a rape victim. I've seen it myself. And there was a lot of controversy at the time that the rape scene was way too long. Like, she's had to discuss this for a long time. And she just kept talking about how amazing he was. Ashton called him a role model. The two of them wrote in their letters that he basically pushed them away from a world of drugs when they were in their teens. I'm sorry, like, boo-hoo, someone didn't let you do drugs. That's normal.
And of course, he's been accused of using drugs on his victims. I think in this country, we all know that there are certainly letters have been written all the time for people. We've seen it in court. We've seen parish priests do this. It's not something that it happens everywhere. But after they were released, Ashton and Mila did release then this video on Twitter. Let's take a look.
We are aware of the pain that has been caused by the character letters that we wrote on behalf of Danny Masterson.
We support victims. We have done this historically through our work and will continue to do so in the future.
A couple months ago, Danny's family reached out to us and they asked us to write character letters to represent the person that we knew for 25 years so that the judge could take that into full consideration relative to the sentencing.
The letters were not written to question the legitimacy of the judicial system or the validity of the jury's ruling.
Like, I get it when you're friends with someone for that long. I do understand they felt the need to write a character letter, but they don't even actually apologise to the victims in this. They apologise to people being upset by what they said, which is, I think, why everyone's very disappointed. You know, take that moment to be like, we shouldn't have done it, we're so sorry to you, but there's none of that. And there's a lot of questions now over, like, Scientology, their involvement in that. It came up in the trial very prominently that, you know, Danny was very high up in Scientology. All of the victims claimed that they told people high up and they were told, like, you weren't raped. They kind of were shushed. So now there's conversations where Ashton and Mila in Scientology. No one really knows the full details, but there's something not right about the situation. And I think given they call themselves and show themselves as such advocates, this entire situation is bizarre. I don't know how they're going to come back from it.
Yeah, and let's be honest, at the centre of this are people who have been victims of sexual assault.